Welcome back to Step 1, Part 1. What makes this program so powerfully effective is a significant attention we pay to the quality of our emotions, our mindset, our attitude. I mean, what good is a great resume in the hands of a depressed job seeker? What good are cutting-edge interviewing techniques that lead to great job offers when fear and anxiety sabotage the process? So, let's begin with a simple but profound thought. And this one requires you to write this one down. This is important. The quality of life is the quality of your emotions. Take a moment and write this down. The quality of life is the quality of your emotions. You see, it's not where you live that matters, it's how you feel about where you live. It's not what you drive that matters, it's how you feel about what you drive. It's not who you hang out with that matters. It's how you feel about who you hang out with. There are some people who inspire you, right? And then there are others who just bring you down. What I'm saying here is that it's not your current circumstances that matter. It's how you feel about your current circumstances. John loses his job and feels totally dejected. Mary loses her job and feels totally liberated, like she's just been let out of jail. Same circumstance, unemployed, but two totally different emotions tied to the same event. I conducted a 3-day seminar a number of years ago, and at the end of the first day, a gentleman from the back of the room stood up and asked a question. Mr. Block, you've been talking a lot today about working at jobs that inspire our lives. So, how would you define life? Now, I have to admit, after years of speaking on the subject, I never developed my own definition for life. So, I made a shabby attempt at humor, saying that the definition of life was keeping death at a respectable distance. And that got a good laugh, but it's certainly not a good definition of life. So anyway, I promised my audience I'd return to my hotel room that evening, and I'd come up with a better definition to share with them in the morning. And you know, the definition I came up with back then is still my definition today. It's opposites in conflict, with you and me stuck right dab in the middle. Isn't that a great definition? Birth versus death, health versus illness, marriage versus divorce, happiness versus unhappiness, employment versus unemployment. And there we are at any given time in our lives, battling or struggling against those opposites in conflict. And the key to not struggling, not battling against the opposing forces, is to be in full control of our emotions, no matter what. In other words, negativity, adversity, fear, and disappointment are not leaving the stage of life. It's part of the scenario. The best you and I can do is master how we manage and control our emotions in the wake of everything. Does this make sense? Because in the end, our emotions will do just one of two things. One, create a better future by making the best of a bad situation with a good attitude, thus creating many opportunities we otherwise would not even be aware of. Or two, destroy any chance of a better future by making any situation, even a good one, worse with a poor or destructive attitude, thus creating limited, if any, opportunities that would enhance the quality of our lives. Back in 1992, after I was fired by one of my best friends at age 39, want to talk about making midlife crisis even worse, I began reading hundreds and hundreds of books on success. And one of the books I read was Earl Nightingale's The Strangest Secret, suggested by many as one of the best motivational books of all time. Nightingale studied two brothers who were both raised in an abusive home by alcoholic parents. One brother was a loving family member, great father and husband, a community leader. He was a dentist. His brother was just the opposite, a thief who was spending time in jail, a loner, and a person that, well, was just unlikable. Nightingale wanted to know how two brothers raised in the same environment could be so different. When both brothers were asked the same question, how is it your life turned out the way it did? Interesting enough, both brothers gave the exact same answer. Based on our upbringing, in a totally dysfunctional home with very abusive parents, how else could I have turned out? And you see, that was the strangest secret Nightingale learned. It's not the events, but the thinking associated to those events. When our thoughts are positive and empowering, regardless of circumstance, the outcomes will be positive and empowering. But when our thoughts are negative and destructive, regardless of circumstance, the outcomes will be negative and disappointing. But you see, Nightingale's idea is not new, not by a long shot. Abraham Lincoln said, "People are as happy as they make up their minds to be." Emerson said, "We become what we think about all day long." Shakespeare said, "There's nothing either good or bad, but thinking makes it so." Esther and Jerry Hicks said, "The law of attraction responds to thoughts, not reality." And Proverbs 23-7, "For as he thinketh in his heart, so is he." So, I would suggest that your most valuable asset is your thoughts, your ability to think, and more importantly, your ability to change how you think. You see, no other species on Earth can do it. Alligators can't do it. Ducks and geese can't do it. The birds and the bees can't do it. Only human beings can do it. And the problem is, for some reason, very few people really take advantage of this extraordinary gift, and even less are willing to rethink what they think they know. So, why am I laboring so hard to make this point? Well, Lao Tzu said, change your thinking and you change your emotional state and your life. Watch your thoughts. They become words. Watch your words. They become actions. Watch your actions. They become habits. Watch your habits. They become your character. And watch your character. It becomes your destiny. Michelle is a 5 Steps to Rapid Employment graduate. And here's what she has to say.
I have been unemployed for more than 2 years without regular full-time work. Pretty much the 5 or 6 years prior to that, I've had a pretty bad run of it. I've been feeling pretty beaten down by life in general, and went from being a generally very positive and happy person to feeling very negative, pretty much hopeless, especially in terms of finding a job, and feeling like I had no control over my life anymore. And literally, the first day of this class, I walked out of here going, wow, how did I get to this place? And feeling so empowered to take back control of my life and make it different. It's like what you said, change your thinking and your life changes instantly. That happened for me on the very first day of this class. I have remembered how much I get out of being around other people because I've spent so much time at home alone in front of my computer over the last couple of years. I have my mojo back. I feel in control of my life again. And I've gotten so much confidence out of being in this classroom and out of listening to you speak and just interacting with everybody else in here that I'm a different person than I was 3 weeks ago. It's been astonishing, and everyone in my life has said the same thing. They're like, it's you, you're back. So, I can't even begin to thank you enough for developing this program, because it has literally changed my life.
You see, Michelle ran into a brick wall. What do I mean by hitting a brick wall? Well, perhaps you've heard of Randy Pausch. Randy was a Carnegie Mellon professor who was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer at age 46 and was given just months to live. His 3 children, and I believe they were all under the age of 6 years old, and he was married to the woman of his dreams. And these were people that he loved, and he knew that he didn't have long to live. Anyway, after being diagnosed, Randy gave his now famous lecture in 2007. It was called The Last Lecture, Achieving Your Childhood Dreams. And you can view that, by the way, on YouTube. In his lecture, Randy spoke of the brick walls. He said, "We all face brick walls, and brick walls exist for a reason. And the reason is to keep those who don't want it bad enough out." You see, you need to want to land a job bad enough in order to tear down or crash through the brick walls of resistance, adversity, and setbacks that will try and rain on your parade. Even the walls of fear, uncertainty, and discomfort. Here's the sad truth. For whatever reason, only a small percentage of people will muster the courage and determination to experience many of life's amazing breakthroughs. Posh gave the last lecture and wrote a best-selling book by the same name, mainly to provide life-guiding principles for his 3 children, lessons he knew he would not be alive to teach them. In 2007, at the young age of 47, unfortunately, Randy died. But because of his emotional strength, attitude, and mindset, his legacy lives on in a most inspiring way, not only for his children, but for millions and millions of people who have read his book and watched the last lecture online. So here's a take-home message. Here's what I want you to take home from this segment. You and only you have the power to determine what and how you think, and rethink and rethink and rethink. Emotions determine the quality of your life, and your thoughts determine your emotions. The magic to your life is your ability to change your own thoughts, to change how you feel, to improve any situation you face. Let me ask you this. Do you want to be happy the rest of your life no matter what you have to face, including the inevitable? Well, you just need to change your thinking. I mean, that's it. All you have to do is decide to be happy, no matter what, and then to change your thinking to make it happen. And I'll discuss specific ways how to do this in the last 2 sections here in Step 1. Some really cool stuff, I promise. But for now, let's continue on our journey of discovery, self-discovery. In the next session, we'll discuss the subject of beliefs. Our thoughts create our beliefs, and our beliefs determine our destiny. So join me in the next session where we take a closer look at the fascinating subject of beliefs.